Oh. Oh, this is stupid. Oh my dick and balls. Okay, so I've said in the past that I think Marvel Legends has taken a lot of strides in improving the quality of their figures and bringing them closer to what the high-end companies like Medicom have been doing. And you know what? I still stand by that. For what they cost, I think that Legends has done a pretty good job. But pay attention to what I just said there. For what they cost. Make no mistake, the biggest strength Legends has is that it's a retail line. It's much cheaper than the high-end stuff, and said cheapness makes it easier to stomach things like the comparatively more limited articulation, less accessories, and simpler sculpts that also tend to have more QC issues. But what if Legends tried to be more than a retail line? What if they tried to make a premium figure that was priced in direct competition with these imports? Would it still be a worthwhile alternative? Well, it seems they wanted to give it a shot, because in January, the Legends team announced the Maximum Series Spider-Man, meant to be the best of Marvel Legends. Within their own words, increased articulation, accessories, and deco at a price that puts them in line with imports like Medicom's mafex line. This is meant to be the start of a new subline, and we've already seen the next figure coming up just this week with the Hulk. But to say that this announcement was contentious would be an understatement. Whether you're on YouTube, Twitter, Reddit, Instagram, it doesn't matter. People are arguing if this is worth it or not, understandably so. This is a pretty steep price jump, and with prices on everything from groceries to clothes going up and people needing to really be more conscious about how much they spend, is this figure good enough to justify spending that much? Well, there's only one way to find out, so let's stop wasting time and get right to it, shall we? So one thing the Legends team really wanted to make clear was that Maximum Spidey here was a brand new sculpt. And yeah, that is technically true, but come on, let's not kid ourselves here. While this Spider-Man sculpt may be new, in terms of engineering, this is clearly an evolution on the Renew Your Vows Spider-Man, which in itself was an improvement on the original Retro Spider-Man from 2020. Now, I won't lie, this will cause problems, and I'll talk about those later, but on a basic level, I think this makes a lot of sense. They spent the past 5 years refining this mold, making it the best articulated male base body they have. Of course they were going to refine it again and use it here. Now, if you weren't a fan of the proportions on previous Spider-Men, you probably won't care for this one's either, particularly in the shoulders. Personally though, I think it looks just fine, and alongside the copious amount of web lines and the incredibly distinctive eye design, this figure easily captures Todd McFarlane's take on the character in plastic form. I will say though that the eyes are ever so slightly off, denoted by how the circle on the bridge of his nose is actually an oval here, but it's a very minor thing, barely noticeable at a normal viewing distance. And of course, the looks are improved greatly with all of the accessories he comes with. Outside of the standard head, you get one with a more puzzled look on it, meant to be paired with this spider sense effect. Slips on just fine and is a great addition to have. It also works on the first head just fine too, but as you might expect, not on the unmasked head. This head was lambasted a lot upon first reveal, and I can't exactly blame people. I mean, he does kind of look like he's on one. But I will say that in person, it does look better, though your mileage will still probably vary on this. If you weren't a fan of how this head looked before, odds are what I'm showing you now is not going to convince you. From there, we've got a bunch of hands that at this point we sort of expect spider-themed characters to get, but there's also some grabbing hands for the included web strands, nice, and whipping hands with the web shooting out. I feel as though the webs could have been a little bit longer, but even so, I do like how it looks. And if that weren't enough, we're also able to replace the entire forearm to show off the bare web shooters. Now this is cool. Really lets you capture those moments of downtime between swinging across the city, or when Spidey's stuck frantically trying to switch out cartridges because the one he was using just ran out. Finally, you have 3 more web effects. The shield plugs onto the wrists, and the impact web and web strand can be connected to this display piece. It's quite refreshing to see new web effects after years of reusing the old ones, and the fact that they're very reminiscent of Marvel vs. Capcom Spider-Man is just icing on the cake. I just wish the stand was made a little bit taller. A minor thing, but still. Finally, there's the articulation, and oh boy, we are seeing some improvements here. For starters, the base of the neck is now ball jointed, finally allowing the web head to look all the way up without having to create a gap at the back of the neck. Then there's the diaphragm joint, butterfly joints, and the hips being given quite a bit of increased range, nearly if not outright matching mafex in this regard. In fact, the ab crunch combined with the hips is actually deeper than what the mafex can do. Needless to say, this guy poses like an absolute champ, running circles around his predecessors and being an absolute blast to handle. Honestly, this guy is easily the best Legend Spider-Man they've made so far. This is great! I don't even remember why people were so upset about this guy in the first place. Oh. Right. And here's where the tone of this video takes a turn. So when I bought Maximum Spidey, he went for about $70 Canadian, but has since jumped to $75. Luckily I had some discounts at the site I was using, so I only paid $60, but still. Meanwhile, Mafex's most recent Classic Suit Spider-Man was around 7,600 JPY, or about 75 Canadian when I got it. Obviously there will be some differences between how much they were taxed and the cost of shipping, but at their base price these two basically cost around the same. So with that in mind, I don't think it's unreasonable to compare Maximum Spider-Man to the Mafex or other figures around this price range. And upon doing so... oh boy. Let's start off small with the accessories. Now, some people have criticized the lack of a display stand, and while I do think it's disappointing to not have it, it isn't really a deal breaker for me. What I will criticize though is how we get a Peter Parker head sculpt, but no mask accessory to hold. It's not like they've never given us one before, so it's very strange they didn't bother on the Maximum release. Then there's the web lines. Why are these a soft plastic? Having one be soft plastic is one thing, but having both of them be soft plastic kind of makes getting him into any web swinging poses a lot harder when the web line itself just flops around. But those are just minor gripes. Let's get into the problems with the figure itself. Remember how I said reusing the Renew Your Vows engineering was going to cause problems? Well, on a surface level you might not immediately see them. This guy does look nice, and the articulation has seen a significant improvement over previous Legends. But there are still issues, primarily in regards to the diaphragm joint. Now, I've defended the use of this joint before. I do consider it better than the waist swivels of old, but it isn't perfect. While the diaphragm joint combined with the hips does give you an amazing ab crunch, it allows for barely any tilt. Sure, crouching poses are important and a big thing with Spider-Man, but the lack of proper tilt does limit some of the things you can do. Not to mention there is still no movement at the waist, resulting in even less tilt and the sculpt breaking on top of it. Then there's the head articulation. Don't get it twisted, I love the ball joint at the base of the neck. What I don't love though is the ball hinge for the head. It's not the worst thing, but you guys do know the head can tilt independently of the neck, right? I just don't get it. You were already using a dumbbell joint before. Why not use it here? And now we have the general paint and sculpt. Firstly, if you're going out of your way to resculpt the figure, I have to ask, on a figure costing nearly $80 Canadian, why not take the opportunity to re-engineer some parts? The diaphragm is one thing, but you could have easily reworked the thigh joints so that they're far more seamless, like Mafex's is. I mean, even McFarlane Toys have managed to do it, so don't tell me it isn't possible. Same with the boot cut. You could have easily reworked the ankle joints for a cleaner look while keeping the same articulation. Secondly, what is happening to the back spider? Look, I get you don't want to cut the leg short, but maybe this isn't the best solution, you know? And why are there no sculpted web lines? They have sculpted in the web lines before, multiple times in fact, so the only reason I can see them not doing this is for potential reuse. And to be fair, Medicom does the same thing, but they also retool the sculpt so that it works with every iteration rather than just making a blank body and calling it a day. But hey, I suppose it's not that big of a deal. As long as the QC is good and we have no pain issues with the webs, we should be just— oh, hello there! Yes, the classic paint QC strikes again, and believe me, I'm not the only one who's had this problem. Not great when it happens on a regularly priced figure, but here? Alongside the fact that there's no additional paintwork to bring out the details in the sculpt? Let me be perfectly clear. In spite of everything I've just listed, I don't think this figure is bad. Like I said before, overall, the Maximum Series Spider-Man is the best Marvel Legends Spider-Man that they've ever released at this point. But that's the problem. Even with the surplus of accessories and the really deep ab crunch, this figure still feels like a standard $37 Marvel Legends figure. And it's being sold at a price point it has no business being in. All of the issues that would have been at worst tolerable at regular price are accentuated here. An $80 figure should not be having the paint issues this has. Had this been released at $50 or even $60 Canadian, which for clarity is around 35 to 40 USD, I would probably be singing a very different tune. Sure, there would still be issues, but at this hypothetical price with everything this comes with and does, I think it would have been far more acceptable. Hell, this could have very easily have been a truly viable alternative to what high-end companies offer, but at its current price point, the issues it has makes it a lot harder to justify, at least for me. But maybe you think I'm being too hard. After all, with things like DHL shipping, the mafex will typically still be a fair bit more expensive than this guy. Now, personally, I would say there are more shipping options than just DHL, but sure, okay. Even then, this guy is still falling behind what Jada Toys is doing. Extra accessories and a nice ab crunch can only go so far when these guys are sculpted better, with far better paint abs, almost identical articulation barring said ab crunch, and are priced far, far more fairly. Although, I don't know how much longer they will be priced fairly. And I think now I should probably talk about what I consider to be the elephant in the room regarding this release. You see, this past week, a dehydrated orange that sometimes cosplays as, and for some reason has the political powers of the US president, announced a slew of tariffs to countries across the world. This was an insane announcement, and immediately we started to see its effects, not just in the stock market or everyday items, but entertainment as well. Nintendo made the decision to delay the pre-orders for the highly anticipated Switch 2 in America due to said tariffs potentially affecting its price point, and toy company Fresh Monkey Fiction's Long Box Heroes Kickstarter was cancelled due to tariffs increasing the cost of production and the finished product's price far higher than what the company was comfortable with. Some have even speculated that Jada Toys pricing their Scooby-Doo line as high as they have was a preemptive measure, given that the Orange has been talking about tariffs for the past few months. Now, I'm not sure about that, or if Hasbro priced this Spidey as a preemptive measure too. If they didn't, that means the price could go even higher, which is terrifying. But they do seem to be experimenting with increasing the price of regular Marvel Legends, as this same week, the Raimi Black Suit Spider-Man went up for pre-order at $40 Canadian, not the usual $37. To be clear, I'm not blaming Hasbro wholesale for this. I get these tariffs are going to cause problems all across the board, but I also know that once the price is increased, and if people keep buying, it's not going back down, regardless of if the tariffs are lifted or not. So I have to ask, in regards to Maximum Spidey being sold at $80 before the effects of the tariffs take hold, with the potential for its price to rise even further, is this acceptable? Are we okay with Hasbro charging this much when it doesn't seem like they're letting the Legends team truly improve the line, only letting in half measures relative to what they're charging? Are we okay with this being the quality of figure we're getting when prices all around are getting higher and higher? Look, I can't control what you spend your money on, nor am I trying to shame you if you bought this figure and really like it. You're obviously allowed to buy whatever you want, and I'd rather people enjoy the things they get rather than be disappointed or angry. What I am imploring though is that we all try to be a bit more conscious of how much we're spending. Collecting is an easy rabbit hole to fall into, and one that can also easily spiral out of control if one isn't careful. And let's be perfectly clear, this is not a call to boycott Hasbro. I'm certainly not. I'm excited for a potentially new Juggernaut, and the recently teased MCU Fantastic Four. I am simply saying that all of us, myself included, should try to be more selective in what we buy than we were before. You don't always need to buy a figure right when it releases. You don't need to buy an entire wave at once, and you don't need every iteration of a classic design, which brings us back to Spider-Man. In my opinion, between this figure or something like the mafex, I'd recommend getting the mafex.
Sure, it's going to cost more, but the quality speaks for itself, and I don't think the cost is so great that it makes the Legends suddenly the more enticing option. The Legends team has made a lot of improvements. I just don't think they're enough to justify the final price tag. Interestingly, Maximum Spidey is a bit shorter than the previous Renew Your Vows body at about 15.5 centimeters. Like that body, he's still a bit tall compared to what I prefer his height to be, but you'll still have no problem fitting him into any 112 display. I think I've made my, I guess the word to describe them would be mixed, feelings for this figure pretty clear. So let me end it with this. If you are still interested in picking up the Maximum Series Spider-Man, get him at a discount. How much of a discount is up to you, but I can't really recommend him at full price. I will say this though, for all the issues I have with Spidey, he's still a lot more impressive to me than the next figure in this line. At least with Spidey, they bothered to resculpt the body. The pins on the Maximum Hulk's legs make it very clear that this is just the 80th anniversary figure with a vinyl chest, some toe joints, and more accessories. I really don't know how to feel about the Maximum line at this point. This should be Marvel Legends at their absolute peak. But between these two, the line currently feels like it'll be good, but for what they're charging, not good enough. And on that rather dour note, we're at the end of the video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Later.
Azura, which do you prefer? The Mafex or the Marvel Legends? It doesn't matter, G1 Optimus Prime. Amazing Yamaguchi is better than both of them.